Same old Lions. What does it mean? Right? It means blowing fourth quarter leads. It means finding ways to lose games you're not supposed to lose. Winning games you have no business winning. It's really a long, deep-rooted history of failure, disappointment, and can you trust this version of the Detroit Lions? And I always have told you from day one, if you want to get rid of SOL, that takes time.
Yeah.
You don't get to get rid of SOL if you win the division next year. It's a start, though, and I think it would be stupid to even bring it up if you do win it next year. But even winning a playoff game this year doesn't remove it. How do you get rid of SOL, same old Lions? How do you take this new initiative with, quote, the brand new Lions? How do you take it and push it forward? Well, making the playoffs would help. Winning a playoff game would be immense. Winning the division next year would be nice. Don't get me wrong. But you're talking a 5, 7, 10-year period where maybe you had 1 or 2 only losing seasons, where you were the cream of the creme in your division. You were contending in the NFC. You got to multiple NFC title games. Dare I say, you got to a Super Bowl. That's how you get rid of SOL. You don't get rid of it by accomplishing one thing or getting to the playoffs or having a winning record. That's what Caldwell did. Right. They got to the playoffs, and they had a winning record 3 out of the 4 years. But they didn't do anything. Same old Lions. So I'm actually very confident in the direction they're going in. But if you guys want to talk to me, at least, and it's my opinion, if you want to talk to me about SOL, that's a long-term project.
Yeah.
You don't get to get rid of it, and you don't get to jump on board with it like, oh, you're right. Oh, there it is. There it is. You don't get to do that with a team that is showing traits and qualities that don't align with that mantra or that narrative.
Right.
So that's where I'm at. I'm not on board with SOL. I do think you can trust this team. And we'll get to that maybe a little later on in the show. But, Jeff, I think it's a 5, 7, 10-year project if you ever want to truly get rid of same old Lions.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think Lions fans especially, you've been waiting so long, and you see them win 6 out of 7. It's easy to say brand new Lions, which this is a new brand of Lions we've been witnessing. But to actually get rid of that label, the SOL label, it takes more than that. And I would agree with you. It's consistent, being consistent in the conversation of either contending for your division or getting into the playoffs. Even if they make the playoffs this year, it's going to take more than just this year to kind of get rid of that label. Even though nationally you're getting more recognition, teams are having actual praise for your football team and what they're building, which is great. The leadership is different, which we can agree with. Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, even Sheila to an extent. I mean, from the top to the bottom, it has been different, but the results are really what going to change that narrative. The results are what matter. This is a results-driven business, and even more than just making the playoffs. Next year, you win the division. You host a playoff game. That's where the tide starts turning. That's where the SOL narrative now turns into brand new Lions officially. Because right now we can joke and say, yes, brand new Lions, because it is a new brand of football. But it doesn't completely eliminate a label in which your organization has had the last 30 years plus. So it's going to take more than just this year. But I think from what we've been watching, it is a new brand of Lions football. We can all mutually agree with that. And I think everybody has confidence in what they're building in this regime. But it's going to take more than just making the playoffs to really gain and earn respect nationally. Because you're getting it now, and everyone's favorite team is the Lions nationally. Oh, look at the Lions. They're winning games. They look different. But to actually get that respect, that's where the division wins come in. Winning your division, and next year we expect them to. Or winning a playoff game. Being consistent from a 5-year stretch. And I loved how you put it, because that's really what it's going to matter. It's long-term success. How do you sustain it? And I'm seeing a product right now which can be sustainable. And I mentioned this the last 2 days on the show. With the rookies they have, the young players, these guys aren't going nowhere. They're going to be here for the next 4, 5, 6+ years with Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You can go on, and you still have 2 first-round picks this year. So it is a new brand of football, but to completely get rid of that SOL label, you got to have more success than just 1 year. You got to build this over time. And the more they contend and win their division, make the playoffs, win a playoff game, be in that conversation, then we can officially say, you know what? That SOL label is slowly going away.
Let's look at the North, okay? the Packers the last 7 years. This year, third place. The year prior, first, third, first, second, first.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, let's go to the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings, their first division, I want to say, since 2018 or maybe 2016. I could be wrong. But regardless, you look at the Vikings. What have they accomplished in the last 10 years? Well, they won the division this year. Last year, second. The year prior, third. And then second. And then second. And then first. And then third. And then first. And then third, fourth, second, fourth. Those are the last 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And in that 12-year span, they've been to the playoffs every 3 years. 4 times in total. They've gotten to an NFC title game in that 12-year stretch. They've won playoff games in that 12-year stretch. They've won 1, 2, 3, 4 divisions. So a division every a division every 3 years.
Right.
Same old Vikings. That's how you do it.
Right.
You want to talk to me about we're different. Or from Sheila's perspective, for example, I'm not my parents. Or from Dan Campbell's perspective, I'm not some turd. I'm not an idiot. I know what I'm doing. Or Brad Holmes, or anybody for that matter. If you want to get rid of that narrative, the only way to do it is by winning.
Mm-hmm.
And consistently. You don't get to do what the Bears did, for example. But even the Bears' recent history, is way better than the Lions.
Yeah.
Nobody says SOB, same old Bears. It's a Lions problem. Because they have never won the North. Because they haven't been to, They haven't won a playoff game since 91. They haven't won the division since, 93, 94?
Yeah.
That's why. Again, in a decade, 10 years out of my lifespan, I only expect you to win the division 3, maybe 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
I get. You can go up and down, up. It's normal. Happens everywhere. But if you really want to get rid of that narrative, that's what you got to do. You can't go a decade, 2, or 3, now 4, without winning a division.
That's why it's results more than just action, because I think from an organization standpoint, this is a different Lions team in terms of from top to bottom. I think we can all agree with that. But the results are what matter. The actions of Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, Sheila. To me, at least, that's not same old Lions. But the actual team and the results, that's what's going to dictate that narrative. So I think we're in lockstep here. It depends on what they do the next 5 years, because there's a long history of that same old Lions narrative. It's going to take more than just 2-3 years to eliminate that.
Well, look, we got State of the Union coming up at 9. And a big part of that message will be around this SOL theme. But I will say, for as long as I've been alive, even under Caldwell, I don't recall ever being this, I wouldn't say optimistic, but this confident in the future, given the way they're playing. This isn't a team that's backdooring their way into the playoffs. This is a team that is kicking the door down. And this is a team that's young and only going to get better, like you mentioned. And the contracts are still 2-3 years out.
It's sustainable
and
with what they're building.
So I'm here for it.